I don't think I've ever been to Doc's, but I've been to Snoopy's a bunch of times, but I couldn't think of the word.
Anyway. I always think about Doc's until I see their menu and how much it costs, and I go, okay,
let's go to Snoopy's. So, welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. I'm John. I'm just going to adjust my microphone there because it wanted to fall, but I'm glad you're here. I am here with Mr. Houston Astros himself, Tom. Tom, how you doing over there, brother?
I'm doing well. As you can see, I'm smiling ear to ear. Saturday night was one of those great nights. I was writing a friend in Wisconsin who said, she was commenting about the game, and I said it's an intense watch. And as I'm writing that, the Phillies, I'm trying to think of, I cannot think of his name, but hits the home run right as I'm watching that for the Phillies, and I go, darn.
Yeah. And then another home run happened, and you went, yay.
Same inning.
Yes. So for those who aren't watching, Tom, tell everybody what you're wearing, man.
Okay. I'm wearing. I've got shirts. Actually, World Series champion jersey, but it's from the 2017, and I've got a World Series champion cap again, 2017, and a World Series champion ring. This is actually Jose Altuve's, modeled after Altuve's ring, and it's the 2017 World Series champion ring. In one of my experiences this week at Whataburger Field, I met the announcer's wife. The announcer, he may be the play-by-play guy, Chip Carey, for the Braves. His wife is Susan, and Susan and I, for 2 nights, were in left field talking baseball, and she showed me, an actual the pendant that was given to the spouse, the wives, and of the Atlanta Braves organization, and it was big, it's beautiful, and I was going, that's a happy moment for you and a sad moment for me, but thank you for sharing that. I mean, she pulls it out of her purse and shows it, and it's like, it was an amazing thing. They've gotten pretty fancy over the years.
Well, so is life, Tom. I mean, what's good for you kind of isn't always good for me, but we take both of it. As the old wise saying goes, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. So, all right. So, congratulations to the Houston Astros. You're not a bandwagon fan, are you, Tom?
No, I've absolutely not. Like I said, I've been following them since the 60s, and that's a lot more downs than ups until 2017, and then 2 years later, it's the controversy about those cheaters, and we as fans, and certainly the players, have had to endure a lot of crosswords and stuff like that. But I always have to go back to what really happened in that, and along with they obviously cheated, they admitted that they cheated, but there's that moment where you cannot take away the exhilaration of the moment. I mean, in that moment, not, everything else would be 2 years later down the line. But in that moment, there was just that exhilaration. This time it was more exhilaration coupled with just plain relief. It's like there.
No question.
Although I read a tweet, and it was basically said that MLB has already investigated to find out if there's truth to the rumors that Yordan Alvarez was actually Jose Altuve stacked on one another wearing a trench coat.
A la Little Rascals, right?
Yes, a la Little Rascals.
All right, so congratulations. You're right. There's a lot of years of being the Lastros and enduring all of that and having glimpses, but yes, it's good to be on top and it's good to be able to celebrate a World Series victory. Okay, Tom, we know for sure you are a Houston Astros fan. You have been for a long time. Let me ask you something else. Do you believe in UFOs?
Well, I do believe in the letters UFO and what they literally mean, unidentified flying objects.
Yes, the letters U, F, and O do exist.
Yes,
That's a hot take
I'm
there,
saying,
Tom.
I'm saying you see something flying over and you can't figure out what it is. They say UFO.
UFO.
So I believe in flying saucers, aliens, and that. I am leaning more toward no, I don't than I am, but I'm, let's say I'm skeptical of any of that and any stories because there's all kinds of stuff that's come out, and then eventually they go, here's the explanation for this, like the corn maze drawings.
So what would help you overcome your skepticism? Would it have to be like a little green guy?
No, actually, what would help me overcome my skepticism would be a what would you call it? A legitimate or someone I have confidence in as a witness. And I'll give you an example. The whole controversy about way back. I mean, it's not a controversy anymore. Is Elvis Presley still alive? And was really an FBI conspiracy. And I watched something late at night, which is when those kind of things come on. And at the end of the thing, I'm going, he's alive. Elvis Presley is alive. I put that to bed when I met the coroner who actually did the autopsy, and I go, he was a verifiable witness to the fact that Elvis had died.
See, I was sure he and Tupac were still alive together, but now since you are telling me otherwise, now I believe otherwise too.
Good.
Okay, so the U.S. government has officially started to explain some of the worst infamous UFO encounters of the last decade. I'm reading from an article, just came out a few days ago. Aren't you curious, Tom, about all these sightings and like what it is? And like
in the last 10 years, I'm not even familiar with let's say I cannot recall even one in the last 10 years.
Well, how do you know that's not an effort to like not
to suppress it?
Yeah, they're not trying to let Tom know about UFOs. So anyway, they've started explaining some of this, and they don't call them UFO. Well, the government does anyway, but what do they call them here? Where's it at? Oh, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. That's what the experts call it now.
Okay.
So they're not UFOs, they're UAPs. And that just doesn't roll off the tongue as much. So we're going to stick with UFOs for our claim. But okay. You want to hear their excuse?
Their explanation? Sure.
Explanation, yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear what the question was and their answer.
So intelligence agencies in the U.S. have spent the last few years analyzing footage of hundreds of recent UFO encounters, and they want the American people to know it's still not aliens. According to several U.S. Department of Defense officials who spoke anonymously. Many recent sightings of UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena, as the government first call them, are likely just observations of foreign surveillance operations or airborne clutter, such as weather balloons.
Yeah.
Several UAP incidents have been officially identified as relatively ordinary Chinese surveillance drones. So blame the Chinese.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we do for everything in the American government? Just blame somebody else, right? It's never, yeah.
Yeah, we certainly blame the Chinese for the COVID incident.
Yeah, we do. Well, I found another report about that. That's interesting, but that's for another day, Tom. Another day.
And they blamed it on us.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
It's like the bottom line is stuff happens. People get sick, and it have been for millennia.
And so, Tom, does this help your skepticism, or just kind of just affirm what you already kind of thought?
Yeah, it affirms what I already thought. I'm not surprised by any of that. That has been the answer for decades. Weather balloons.
I don't know. It just sounds like another cover up to me, brother. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, why you got to be anonymous like that?
yeah. I wonder why. It's not like they wouldn't be attacked on Twitter or anything.
Yep.
There would be no tweets.
Other UAP sightings recorded by military aircraft, which appear to show airborne objects moving in seemingly physics-defying ways, are likely the results of optical illusions. Tom, you're not seeing that. You only thought you saw that. It's an optical illusion.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, one of the optical illusions that happen every day in life is the sun sets and then it rises and then it sets again. So that's not, I mean, that's a reasonable assessment. It really is.
All right, Tom, I guess you want to continue to be a skeptic. You want to continue to not believe. I'll join you. This doesn't change my mind either. I'm with you. But it did get me wondering. UFOs, aliens, it's always one of those questions you ask somebody, do you believe in aliens? Do you believe in UFO, all that kind of stuff. And one of the responses I have is, I don't know that I believe in the little green men that we always see on TV, of course, right? But
they make great stories. I'll say that. Aliens, great stories.
They could do better tests, but anyway, that's something else. But who's to say that out in the entire galaxy in the universe that there isn't something else out there? So the mystery of whatever is beyond what we can even see, right? Much less understand. So that got me thinking about mystery, and mystery has a direct connection to our Christian faith. Does it not, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we don't necessarily mean, mystery novel, mystery, like whodunit kind of stuff, but just the sense of mystery of like what's beyond what we see and even what we even experience sometimes, what we can understand and perceive. And so I thought it'd be helpful, Tom, for us to maybe kind of talk about what is that intersection between mystery and faith in Jesus, and like how that plays out in the life of the church. And so to kind of get us started in that, like when we're talking about mystery, if we're not talking about whodunit kind of stuff, what are we talking about?
Well, when I think of mystery, this kind of comes from our experiences in Russia. Is that the Russian Orthodox Church is built around mystery. The worship experience is more about mystery than, say, the typical evangelical or Protestant church service. We everything that we have set up within the context of a worship experience is about the approachableness of God. I mean, yesterday we experienced the Lord's Supper, and this is God's table. It's not the United Methodist Church's table. It's not Kelsey Memorial's table. It's not John Fletcher's table or Tom Tarver's. This is God's table, and so it's we begin with the approachableness of God, and the Orthodox Church, and I experienced the Easter service there. First of all, you're standing up. There's no place to actually sit down in a Russian Orthodox church, and then there's kind of the altar area, and then behind, which is visible, and behind that, the priest will come out. But behind that is a wall and a room, and there are two doors. There's one on each side of the wall, and behind that wall you see the priest moving back and forth, and then he comes out, and he'll walk all the way through the crowd and back and stuff, and all that represents is here's the visible part of God. Jesus became God in the flesh and dwelt among us, and so people actually saw and touched God, and that's understandable. But then there's the other side of that is those little glimpses we see behind the wall or behind the scene. But mostly there's all these things that are mysterious to us, and we can just go down the list. What happens to us after we die? What what's it like? What's life after this life? Do we have physical bodies? Will we recognize one another? We have some answers, some clues to that, but for the most part, eternity is a mystery.
And so, excuse me, cut. Excuse me, man, you overwhelmed me, Tom. Excuse me, boy, oh boy, oh boy. And so, Eastern Orthodox Church, even to a big degree, the Catholic Church, right, has good sense of mystery within its worship, right? And we kind of like that. Like you said, you kind of briefly touched on it. Whereas, those sisters and brothers, they're more open to the mystery and, letting it just sort of be what it is and resonating with it and find the connection. Like if I give a mysterious sermon next weekend, you'll probably have a lot of people go away thinking like, what did he even prepare?
What did he talk about?
What did he even talk about? Yeah. So it's almost like we over here, like we're not even like quite wired to sort of appreciate the mystery. And beyond that, I think more to the point is like maybe in our churches, we're not really conditioned to be able to appreciate that mystery more. We want answers, right, Tom? We want
absolutely. And one of the things that especially in the Western world, we kind of lean toward reason a lot. I mean,
sure,
we're more the Vulcans of the world, let's be reasonable, not exclusively, obviously, but
sure,
we expect answers from science that we may not have the answers now, but one of these days, science will solve that mystery. I appreciate, science. Science has its places, and science is really about observation of what we can actually sense, and it has its place, and we acknowledge that, especially as United Methodists. But there are mysteries beyond what science can answer, beyond what science can solve.
Yeah. And even like you said, so in Greek Orthodox Church, I mean, you're standing up, right? Mm-hmm. And you can even see the difference. Like our churches, we need to sit down because we're sort of fashioned to sit down and listen for the answers that the person in charge is going to give to us that we've been missing. And all we needed to do was pay attention and take more notes. And now we can leave with everything we need to know about, how to love Jesus or how to do whatever. And so what is helpful then is like, how do we, assuming, and I'm making the assumption, and tell me if I'm wrong, but how do we sort of kind of open ourselves up more to the mystery of our faith, with the assumption that we do need to open up ourselves more to the mystery of our faith? We say it, right? So I was telling Tom that one of the lines that when we do communion, if we use the complete liturgy, we talk about the mystery of our faith. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. The mystery of our faith, that's a line from scripture, from I think one of the Timothy letters, right?
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I mean, nothing immediately comes to mind, but
yeah, I should have looked it up beforehand, but I'm pretty sure it's in one of the instructions about how to, either for bishop or for some. Anyway, so the mystery of our faith. I mean, we say it, we use the words, but then we're not so sort of ready to adjust our faith to it. And so how then do we sort of readjust ourselves, Tom, to this idea of the mystery of our faith, and how that actually frees us for experiencing the grace of God, perhaps?
Well, part of me thinks in terms of knowing God is like knowing an iceberg. There's more unseen than seen. That there's more mystery than there is knowledge. But first of all, the fact that there is an iceberg and there's a tip of the iceberg lets you know there's something there. And I think the same thing is true in our faith, that one of the things there's, again, more that we don't know about God than we do. But that tip of the iceberg part that we do know, we take from scripture, and also especially from the gospels, and knowing Jesus, seeing Jesus. John says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And you go, well, what's he talking about? And then later he says, and the Word became flesh. And dwelt among us, and he gives a name to the Word, and that name is Jesus. And then he goes on to describe who Jesus was and is, what Jesus did and does. I mean, all of these things. And so we begin with, I don't know all there is to know about God. I don't even know but a little bit of about God. But what I do know about God, this is foundational in my faith, that he is good and active and present in my life, in our lives, right here, right now. In fact, Jesus, when it talks about his proclamation or his good news, he said, here's the good news, or here's the gospel. He proclaimed the gospel. What did he proclaim? The kingdom of God is near, and there's this sense of presence. But so how do we build on that mystery, or allow mystery to take place? And I think a lot of that begins with slowing down long enough to just think about, first of all, think about our lives. Most of our lives are about, the good things that happen in our lives. Like right now, the sun is shining. We've got a breeze. I'm enjoying sitting out on the patio. And in Texas, this is an ideal time. South Texas, this is an ideal time to live in Corpus. And just go through all the things, good food, good friends, and certainly in the midst of all of this, there's these moments. And Brad's not joining us today because there's one of those moments where he's having to minister to a congregation, to a family in a time of loss. But again, we come back to it, start with that, and just reflect upon how in the world am I so blessed? It's a mystery to me. What have I done? No, nothing. It is what it is, and that's a mystery to me.
And so, which sounds, I think, strange to some people, maybe for good reason, because we talk a lot of times. We talk about faith, and we talk about being sure of things. We don't want to have doubt. We don't want to be a doubting Thomas, right? We want to be firm in what we believe and what we understand. And so, to say or to suggest that maybe there's so much more we don't know, and that's okay too, kind of sounds like, well, make up your mind, right? Like, do I need to know, or do I not need to know? And I would say, well, that's part of the mystery of faith. That's part of the mystery itself, right? We're talking about communion, right? And our Wesleyan tradition is, we aren't We aren't on the camp that says, when we take communion, the body and the wine of the juice so transforms into the actual body of Jesus. But we're not also on the other side where it says, well, this is just kind of a memorial event. Like, just don't forget about me. Like, we're kind of somewhere in the middle, because what we believe is, in the same way that, Catholic Church, for example, believes that somehow mystically the body and blood are transformed from the bread and wine. God is somehow doing something in that sacrament, right? Not so much to the bread and to the juice, but like to us, or to the church, to the fellowship that's gathered there. Now, what is God doing? How is God doing that? Well, I think that's part of the mystery, right? Like, what exactly is God doing? Which is, am I right, Tom? That's why when we're done with communion, we always cover it back up.
Well, the other thing is, and I was thinking about this, is we respect those elements as if, and they are holy sacraments, that God has breathed into this experience, His presence, and whether you talk about literal or figurative, we believe something has happened in that moment that is transformational. And so, what do we do with those elements? We return them with respect to the earth. And for me, when I was serving as pastor at Asbury, after the service, one of the very special moments for me actually was what was taking the elements outside, and then basically throwing them in the air, because I knew that would signal to the seagulls, there's something here. But we're not taking that, scraping it up like leftovers that we're not going to eat again, and putting it in the garbage. We're returning those elements to nature, and it's very special. And I don't understand it. It is a mystery, but there's this holy sacredness to tossing bread in the air and having the seagulls snatch it up and saying, God is present in this moment.
Amen. Yeah, I gave a sermon years ago. I remember doing a sermon, and I was trying to be like kind of mystical, right? And so I put like one or two questions in particular. And normally, if I would, prepare a sermon and I have a question, then I would kind of follow up with a response and answer. Like, here's the answer to the question. Well, this time I said, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want to let the question linger, right? The mystery of it, right?
Yeah.
And I remember somebody asked me, like, you didn't finish. Like, what's the answer? And I was like, that's the point, right? I don't know. And sometimes we don't know. And in our conversations, in our worship, even in our serving or whatever it may be, that's where we sort of kind of let's figure that out together. Let's see if it's something that God works, that we can find some kind of clear or new understanding about what the answer might be, or what it might lead to afterwards. So mystery is a sort of, it's not really a doctrine, but it's a sense, right? Of who God is and what we know of God. And like you said, with the iceberg illustration, all the other stuff we don't know about God and probably will never know. And we have to be okay with that, right? Doesn't mean we don't ask questions. Doesn't mean we don't kind of seek, because in that, maybe we do find God. We do find, that seeking, those questions lead us to different understandings or levels of faith, even if that's a good thing to talk about. So how do I know, Tom, if I've been to a worship experience, like you said, that is kind of centered on the mystery of faith? How would I know if I've just kind of had that experience?
Oh boy, you gave me such a softball question. I'm just gonna hit it out of the park, and I'm going, all right, I'm stumped.
Is that a mysterious question, Tom?
Yeah, this is a mysterious question. There's moments in life where you step back and you go, I don't know what just happened, and I don't know why I feel the way I feel. Uh, but I know God was present, and I can't think of, I can't honestly, I can't concretely think of how that happens, other than I know it happens. And the thing is, you know, why do we get such pleasure out of certain experiences that are so mundane? Uh, when Ellen and I take a walk, and we have conversation, and our conversation is good conversation, and it's almost like as we talk, I learn more about her, and by the time we get back, I'm going, I just love my wife all the more, and it's not because we talked about anything great or wonderful
Sure.
or amazing or life changing. It's just this sense of I'm connected with another human being, and I love that. And I think those moments happen, say, at the beach when the sun is setting. And I've seen, I remember sitting at, is it Popeyes? No, not Popeyes. What's next to Doc's? On the restaurant on.
Oh, yeah, the other one.
Anyway, it's on the Laguna Madre, and they have a deck where you can sit. And I remember we were just leaving, and they talked about, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful to be here at this time? It's such a beautiful scene. And we're just leaving, and we go, yeah. And we had no idea what she was talking about. Absolutely no idea. And we go home, and we're still puzzled about what she was talking about. Well, a while later, now we're sitting there at the right time, and the sun is setting, and the colors on the Laguna Madre are spectacular. I mean, they're the stuff photographers wait for to take a picture. And now I understand, and then all of a sudden this mystery is cleared up because I'm there, but it's still mysterious how God presents that to us in everyday scenes over and over again. And we're amazed.
And the words that come to mind when I think about this mystery, the psalmist, who are humans that you are mindful of them, right? Like, why in the world we think about this, everything that we don't know that's so beyond this world? Like, who in the world are we that God would even care? And I was trying to live into the mystery, Tom, but I couldn't help. I had to find an answer, so I just Googled it real quick. Snoopy's, duh, Snoopy's. I don't think I've ever been to Doc's, but I've been to Snoopy's a bunch of times, but I couldn't think of the word.
Anyway, I always think about Doc's until I see their menu and how much it costs, and I go, okay,
let's go to Snoopy's. Or Boat and Net, Tom. Boat and Net.
I haven't been there.
Oh, Tom, you haven't lived.
Boat and Net.
Boat in, like the letter N, like the letters UFO, but you believe in like that letter's a real thing to believe in, Tom. And so is Boat and Net. There's not very many around anymore, but anyway, that's good Corpus seafood. That's good cheap Corpus seafood. So anyway, all right, so let's leave it there, Tom, and hope that mystery can be a more I don't know if tangible is the right word, but part of our worship time as the body of Christ, that a sense of mystery can kind of fill our minds to where I think about like even in reading scripture. Like, so my wife right now is doing one of the, read the Bible in a year plans. And we've done that before a bunch of times. And I encourage people to do that. But, there's even where that can kind of run into what we were talking about before, where, sit down and give me the answers. Let me just kind of get through it all. And now I've read the Bible. Okay. And, so maybe instead of reading the entire Bible in 365 days, I remember one person saying that he read one passage for 365 days. Right. And just after a while, I mean, that obviously, like, there's something that kind of that you begin to see out of that experience you couldn't have seen before. And that's, again, part of the mystery. Well, that sounds like you're wasting time. You need to be reading the whole thing. Well, not if mystery is kind of at the center of what we're trying to fall into and to understand. So anyway, I hope that's a helpful conversation, something for you to look forward to at your next church's worship time. And then, kind of think about how that whole time gathered kind of lives into that. Tell your preacher you want less answers, less explanations,
more mystery,
more mystery. Yes, more mystery, please.
Less filling.
Tom, now. Anyway, all right.
I was gonna say, how many decades am I going back with that reference?
I was fixing to say bud, but anyway, we'll leave that alone. We'll leave that alone. All right. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that's helpful, because mystery, you're going to hear it, and you should hear it, and you don't have to explain everything. And that's okay, because if you try to explain God, you're probably going to become a heretic at some point. Isn't that safe to assume?
Yeah. You're gonna say something. If you know God that well, explain everything.
So let the mystery be what it is.
At all.
That's right. Let the mystery be what it is, because you don't know everything there is to know about God. Thanks for listening, Tom. Thank you for the gift of your time. We finished early, man. Enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And get to that charge conference information.
Hey, don't tell the boss I hadn't started yet. Oh,
I didn't say that you hadn't started. You just haven't finished.
All right. God be with you.
God be with you. Thanks, John.